By the time Gisama was summoned to Earth, the human race had already spread. The high humans built a huge nation, larger than the human beings today. However, it seems that both races had their strengths and weaknesses. Although the high humans inherited strong magical power, their spirits had problems. As you can see from the stupidity of summoning Gisama, they thought that they were the best of the best. There's a saying in other worlds that those who are arrogant have not been around long enough, and that's exactly what happened. They were destroyed in the blink of an eye. And as for the vampires, they had their own problems. But was it a good thing? They're still alive. A strong body and powerful magic, high immortality, and a mature mind. It's a good thing they had all these things, but they were always vulnerable to being out in the sun. They couldn't truly be the supreme ruler of the earth. That ancestor asshole continued to experiment. Well, I was there at the time, so I can generally remember what he was doing. At that time, spirits from the great spirit of each attribute had already separated and filled the earth with the 4 major elements. Those spirits took in magical elements and materialize, rather, they had a body. In other words, it was the ancestor who helped them materialize. From the earth attribute, the earth spirit, High Dwarf, was born. From the water attribute, the water spirit, Siren, was born. From the fire attribute, the fire spirit, Enki, was born. And from the wind attribute, the wind spirit, High Elf, was born. Up to this point, it was still within the acceptable range, but from here, the ancestors' recklessness began. That experimented with breeding these races and gave birth to various species. To be honest, for a lady like me, it was quite a shock. The result was the birth of various species such as dwarves, ogres and beastmen, which were successful examples. There were many failures that were buried in the shadows and later, deteriorated into goblin-like monsters. Gisama was also worried that this couldn't be left alone. But, as long as Veldanava was left alone, we couldn't punish the ancestor. As a result of his experiments, the diversity had certainly increased. One might say that the world had become more complicated, but it had also become more interesting. Yes, if it's someone else's affair. For me, it was alright because it didn't bother me at all. I don't suppose you enjoy watching me get in trouble, do you? No way, no way. That's a misunderstanding, Gisama. I'm Gisama's faithful maid. I decide on a beautiful courtesy. The fact that I was able to get away with it perfectly must be the result of my daily efforts. Well, I was troubled by the ancestor as I survived such a critical situation. However, his experiments led to his downfall. Ah, my daughter. You are my masterpiece. It is time for judgment disintegration. I guess he had it coming, huh? To have his own body turned to dust by his daughter. Well, that guy went too far. I was relieved too, and that's a secret. This is the secret episode of the 5th Demon Lord Luminas-sama, but don't tell anyone. After that, the 6th one to become Demon Lord was Dino-sama. By the way, can I be frank with you? What? I already am. Well then, I don't need to be shy. I'll just say it. I don't like to call Dino names. Because he's a piece of crap. He doesn't work. He's the perfect example of depravity. I could have forgiven him if he didn't work, but he also puts me to work. That is unacceptable. I can't let him do that anymore. Just give it to Mizari. Then I will forgive you. And when I said that, do you know what that guy said? No, because I'll get in trouble if I ask Mizari, right? That's right. It's I'm angry, and by saying that, it's like saying Mizari is more scary than me. Well, she's often angry, but that's not to say that I don't have a dislike for Mizari. Huh. Similarity. Are you stupid? Do you think you can handle a primordial? There are right and wrong things to say in this world. People who don't understand that deserve to get beaten to death. Those are Rain's words of advice. In this way, 6 people became demon lords, and the Walpurgis became a business debriefing session. At first it was just a tea party, but it turned into a business meeting before I knew it. It sounds cumbersome, so I'll pass. Rain. That's a lie. I will serve as a guide properly. Everyone seems to be very busy. About one person is slacking off. If you look closely, there are a lot of people working, but that important job of managing the human race hasn't diminished at all, has it? First of all, Gisama. It's a madhouse. Except for Walpurgis, Mizari was also helping desperately. I have to support her. I'll take care of the cooking and laundry, thank you. Next, Milim-sama. Here, too, she is also more serious than you might think. If there are skirmishes between nations, she would go to them and sanction them both. If a country is under attack by a giant beast, she would go there to help people. She doesn't always act like a demon lord, but that's typical of Milim-sama. And then, Ramers-sama. The social recluse. She doesn't come out of the labyrinth of her own making. But that's okay. I owe Ramers-sama a debt of gratitude, so I can forgive anything. Daggerel-sama is the same situation. After all, it seems to be a mess to clean up after the wreck. He doesn't have time for anything else, so it would be a great help to him, even if he could slow down the desertification process. The amazing one is Luminas. She's a far cry from that ancestor and is very good. Before I knew it, she had the complete control over the vampire forces. On top of that, she is protecting the humans who have lost their strength. Vampires, who used to see humans as bait, now follow Luminas' orders to protect the human race. Let's put it bluntly. How did you do it? That's seriously a great accomplishment. And next, in contrast to Luminas, is that piece of crap. Dino-sama, why don't you work a little harder? I don't need you to tell me that. I don't understand. Was there ever a greater insult than this? No. I guess that's why Dino is a natural enemy of mine. Well, under the circumstances, 6 people weren't enough. Therefore, I started to recruit more people. But then Luminas retired. The reason for this was that the new recruits were too stupid. Many had an arrogant attitude towards Luminas and Ramers. Finally, they went on a rampage to show them what they were made of, but by then she had run out of patience with them. Luminas is a beautiful girl, and her opponents would think she was lower than them. In order to break through this situation, she may have decided that it would be more advantageous to have a more dangerous-looking being as the Demon Lord. As Luminas' replacement, Roy was put in. I will now go behind the scenes to support everyone. I'll put Roy in the front as the Demon Lord, is that alright? If this were Dino's statement, he would have been accused by everyone of trying to slack off. However, this is Luminas, the trusted and proven leader. With the circumstances being what they are, everyone accepted it willingly. That was the beginning of the new year. Powerful magians began to rise in prominence as Demon Lords. The minimum requirement is the acquisition of a Demon Lord seed. To fulfill this requirement, ambitious magians, such as Kazarium, became Demon Lords. Once again, the purpose of Walpurgis changed. It was decided that a meeting would be held with the consent of 3 people, to make a treaty or agreement between the Demon Lords. It was also decided that it would be at this meeting where new Demon Lords would be approved or not. For me, it was a funny development. But, well, Gisama seemed to have no complaints about it, because it served its purpose. If Gisama is convinced, then I can't complain. A new system was being established. While looking after Gisama's personal belongings, I serve as a guide for the occasional Walpurgis banquets. A number of Demon Lords have come and gone. Before long, the names of the 10 great Demon Lords began to spread. And then the slime came on the scene. Demon Lord Rimuru. I first saw him in Walpurgis when Demon Lord Clayman called him in. Even so, I kind of miss Clayman. Even though he was weaker than me, I can admit that he had the courage to call himself a Demon Lord. Besides, he was good at coordinating and was surprisingly useful. Convenient, wasn't it? If I pushed him a little, he'd take care of the troublesome work, too. Oh dear, I wonder where he went wrong. It was a shame at the end, but he chose the wrong person to oppose. Mizari, who went to pick up Rimuru, came back and said Clayman's life expectancy may be running out. And she was right. I was the host of the meeting, but once I gave the floor to Rimuru, it was a one-sided discussion. It was refreshing to watch, but there was one thing that bothered me. Yeah, it wasn't so much related to Rimuru as it was to Ramers-sama's servant. Isn't that a black dependent? Right. I felt his presence when I picked up Rimuru, so I'm sure of it. No way. He's so free-spirited and selfish, how could one possibly follow someone like that? Well, I don't know, do you? I don't know what he's thinking, and I don't want to know or care what he thinks, but... Well, that's right. I think it's exactly as Mizari says. That guy, the Black Primordial Noir, is both weird and selfish. He's one of us, but honestly, I don't want to get involved with him. Because he tied with Gisama. Even if Mizari and I challenged him together, we would have had a difficult time. That fact made me feel a sense of weakness, even though I had never fought him in person. No, I was just showing off. Rather than having a difficult time against him, I honestly believe that I can't win. Because Gisama and Black weren't serious at all. The two of them just playing with each other. But the battle was in a realm we couldn't follow. Well, I have my pride as a primordial, so I won't ever admit it. If possible, I really don't want to get into trouble with Black.